Uncharted is not an Uncharted movie. It is a basic action adventure film starring two of the biggest movie stars in the world right now, while using a big well-known IP because executives know it will make some money, which has never happened before in the history of Hollywood, so it's a weird approach if I had to say so myself. The Uncharted games are known for their characters that are deep and relatable, their beautiful landscapes are some of the most beautiful things ever created, and the stories that have meaning to them. This movie has none of that, and is brainless dumb fun that non-fans of the series might find enjoyable enough, while big fans will feel like they just got slapped in the face by a blue-eyes white dragon's dick. I want to start with the characters here because I feel like that's my biggest complaint from the movie. Right out of the gate, we get introduced to Nathan and Sam Drake. This scene is practically the beginning scene to Uncharted 4 and serves to separate Sam and Nate. However, after this, we switch to 15 years later and Nathan is wearing a leather jacket. So you already know they fucked this up. After this, we get introduced to Sully, who's played by Mark Wahlberg. So I mean, not much more to say. You already know they fucked that up too. On the villain side, you have Antonio Banderas, who is kind of fun but gets killed off so suddenly after 5 minutes of screen time by a character so unbelievably uninteresting and boring. Fucking Google doesn't even list their character name. So you already know they kind of fucked that up. I only remember her saying one line in the movie. She probably said more, but whenever she was on screen, my eyes and ears would just sink into my brain so I didn't have to witness it. My biggest complaint, though, for character-wise is probably Chloe. She's also in this movie, but she is just used to extend the runtime and slow Nathan down when he is on a roll and speed him up when he is struggling, and then just disappears for the third act because Nathan no longer needs to be sped up or slowed down. She also just kind of switches sides all the time, like in the games when you find out Sam has been lying to all the time.
Like 6 months ago. I'm the one that got Samuel out. Oh. Wow. What did he tell you? Sam, what kind of story did you cook up? Alcazar? Really? You lied? You lied to your baby brother?
We're wasting time.
Just a second.
It has an emotional hit because you've been watching Nathan ruin his relationships with his other friends and wife and everything just to help his brother who he thinks is in big trouble. It's a well-earned moment. This film, Chloe switches side, and it's just not earned. And it happens like 40 to 50 times. I swear to God, it happens every second. I hate Sully. I'm not on his side. Oh, but I need you, so fine, I'm on your side. Thank you for saving me. I would never betray you. Except you found a map and I'm working with the enemy, so I'm kind of going to betray you. But actually, that guy got killed by the other girl that I don't like so much, so I'm helping you again. Except I kind of feel like working alone, so I'm going to leave you behind. It's like, holy shit, woman, make up your mind.
When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
Story is another very weak part of this movie. Characters are so spontaneous in this movie, they will just make decisions whenever because the story needed them to. However, they don't take the time to actually earn those choices. For example, in the very beginning, Sully tells Nate, like, the bullshit, I need your help, I know your brother, etc. Nathan does not seem to care even slightly, but then the very next scene, he immediately just changes his mind and busts through Sully's wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man, and it's just like, oh yeah! Another example I mentioned earlier, they have like Antonio Banderas play a villain who is actually not bad villain. He has like a good reason for doing something. He believes he's like the rightful heir because it was his family, and the writers realized this and just went, uh-oh, and immediately kill him off and replace him with boring bad villains so good guys are good and the bad guys are bad. Another thing that just happens quite often in this movie is that the movie does not want characters to struggle even slightly. Nathan and Chloe fall out of a plane in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the fucking ocean, and the next second Chloe just stands up and goes, look, Nate, and bam, just like that, they're on land without any thirst or hunger issues. There was really only like one or two scenes that I actually thought were earned, and that was because of the game. Like, there's one scene where Nolan North pops up for a cameo, and he basically is like references his Nathan Drake, and that's a pretty good cameo. There's some other scenes, like the third act fight is pretty fun to watch, and it does homage to the older games while not trying to just copy them like most of this movie does. The action in this movie is the best part, and if you go into this movie and shut your brain off, the action can be quite enjoyable. The action, however, has one pretty massive problem. It's all pretty much just taken from the game, and they don't try to actually twist it in any way. This generally wouldn't be a bad thing, but Uncharted as a game is already so cinematic that it practically is a playable movie. So when you transfer that to a movie, it doesn't really change it at all. Like in the plane sequence showing up in the movie, it's not done any better, and all you do is lose the ability to be able to play that section. There's one action piece that I kind of think was done in the exact way it should have been, which was the final third act where you had the planes from the ships from the fourth game, but then you had like helicopters pick them up, and it put a nice little twist on it that I wasn't expecting a movie of this caliber to actually do until the trailers, and it kind of made the third act not super boring, even though the villain in it was immensely boring and just kind of gets hit in the face with a bag and it's just gone. They didn't kill any of the villains in a meaningful way, but whatever.
Saved.
My final little take here is that Uncharted offers pretty much nothing new here to make it feel like a nice honoring of the games while still being its own thing. If you like Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland action films and don't know much about the Uncharted games, you'll probably have some fun with this film. However, if you've been a huge fan of these games for many years like me, the film will upset you in pretty much every way. I think there is a potential here for a sequel, and I'd like to see if they try harder next time, but the end credit scenes don't give me much hope for the future of Uncharted as a movie. So I'm going to give this movie like a 30 out of 100 on the SLOSH scale. I don't know, fuck this movie.
Blah, blah. Not yet.
Oh.